Because there are many different ways of working, and they're just different ways. There's not a right way and a wrong way. Not a right way to integrate spirituality and psychotherapy, and not a wrong way. We have our different styles and ways of doing that. And before I respond to this case, I might say just a little bit about what my particular system is, and so that you can understand more where my comments might come from. In addition to having been a trained psychoanalyst in the beginning, I also have been trained in most of the major psychotherapies, from Gestalt therapy to transactional analysis to hypnosis to cognitive therapy and group therapy and couples therapy and family therapy, and then more recently the broader field of energy psychology. But I've also been very interested not only in worldwide spiritual thought, but in quantum physics as well. An epiphany for me was some time I spent with David Bohm, a theoretical physicist, with whom I had really an epiphany that changed the whole direction of my life. When I began to see that the world that I thought was real was not the real world. And then when I began to see that what I thought was my own individual self was really not in existence, because everything is interconnected, and we're all interconnected. And when I began to see that, I began to see the entire world differently in the way that I am and my influence and other people's influence on one another and how we are existing together. So that when I think about integration of spirituality and psychotherapy, I think of it being our learning how to get out of our little self, the ego self I would call it, that part of us that thinks we're separate, that thinks we're separate from each other, separate from the rest of the world or the universe or the multiverses, that part of us that thinks we're separate from what we call God or the divine or source energy. Einstein referred to it as an illusion that we're separate. And so it's in that state of existence that all of our pain and suffering originate. That's my belief, that everything in the DSM manual and everything in the manual for medical diagnoses all would come out of the one basic cause that we think we're separate. In that state, we're separate from source, we're separate from power, we're separate from love, we're separate from consciousness, we're separate from our ability to be able to use our power for healing in every possible way. So therefore we suffer. So our purpose in our growth, or helping people to grow, is to move past that illusion of separateness and to own their true self-identity. And the question would be then, how do we do that? How do we accomplish that?